She agreed to marry a man she had never met. No dates. No late-night phone calls. No falling in love. Just a signature. Just a contract. But on the night of their wedding, something happened that neither of them expected. And what started as a cold agreement slowly became a love story no one saw coming. This is Emma's story. Emma Carter was 29 years old. She lived in Chicago. She worked 2 jobs. And every single night, she went to sleep exhausted. Not because she lacked ambition, but because life had not been kind. 2 years earlier, her father had passed away unexpectedly. Heart attack. No warning. And since then, everything had fallen on her. Her mother's medical treatments. The mortgage. The debt. Especially the student loans she was still paying off. But love was a luxury. And Emma couldn't afford luxuries. Not anymore. She had tried dating. Tried believing in someone. But the last man she trusted had walked away the moment things became difficult. After that, she stopped believing in fairy tales. The call came on a Thursday night. Her aunt sounded nervous. "There's an opportunity," she said carefully. Emma almost laughed. She wasn't looking for opportunities. She was looking for stability. But when her aunt explained, Emma went silent. There was a man. His name was Daniel Hayes. 34 years old. Successful. Wealthy. Private. And he needed a wife. Not for love. Not for companionship. For inheritance. His grandfathers will had one condition. Daniel must be legally married before his 35th birthday. Otherwise, control of the entire family company would go to someone else. Someone Daniel didn't trust. So he created a solution. A 1-year marriage. Strictly contractual. Emma's mother's medical bills would be paid in full. Immediately. And at the end of 12 months, Emma would receive $200,000. No emotional expectations. No physical obligations. No pretending beyond public appearances. Emma stared at the contract for 2 days. She barely slept. Was it wrong? Was it desperate? Maybe. But when she looked at her mother, asleep in a hospital bed, none of those questions mattered anymore. She wasn't choosing romance. She was choosing survival. So on Sunday afternoon, Emma Carter signed her name. And just like that, her life changed. The wedding was small, private, efficient. No childhood friends. No emotional vows. Just lawyers. Witnesses. And a photographer documenting something that didn't feel real. When Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, his expression didn't change. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't warm either. He was composed. Controlled. But for one brief second, their eyes met. And something passed between them. Not love. Not yet. But curiosity. The penthouse was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows. City lights stretching endlessly. Emma had never lived anywhere like it. But beauty doesn't erase distance. They had separate bedrooms. Separate routines. Separate lives. He left before sunrise. Returned long after dark. Polite. Respectful. Distant. Days turned into weeks. And Emma began to feel invisible. Like a placeholder in someone else's carefully structured world. Until the storm. The thunder shook the windows. Lightning lit up the sky. Suddenly, the power went out. Complete darkness. Emma hated storms. Ever since she was a child. The silence between thunderclaps made her chest tighten. She sat in the living room. Frozen. Then she heard footsteps. Daniel appeared with a flashlight. He paused when he saw her. "Are you afraid?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. But her shaking hands did. Without another word, he lit candles. Placed them around the room. Then sat down across from her. He didn't touch her. Didn't crowd her. Just stayed. And for the first time, they talked. About childhood memories. About pressure. About expectations they never asked for. He told her he'd spent his entire life preparing to take over a company he wasn't sure he even loved. She admitted she once dreamed of opening her own art studio. They talked until the lights came back on. But neither of them moved right away. Because something had shifted. The walls were no longer solid. After that night, small things began to change. Daniel started coming home earlier. Sometimes he brought dinner. Sometimes he asked about her day. Emma began cooking again. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. They started eating together, laughing. One night she teased him about how serious he always looked in business magazines. He actually smiled. A real one. And something inside her fluttered. It wasn't part of the contract. But it was real. Slowly, without announcement, they stopped feeling like strangers. 3 months before the contract ended, Emma walked past his office. His door was slightly open. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop. But then she heard her name. "If she leaves after the year, it won't matter," Daniel said into the phone. "I'll still have the company." Emma froze. Her chest tightened. So that was it. Just strategy. Just timing. Just business. Every dinner. Every laugh. Every quiet moment. Had she imagined it? That night, he packed a suitcase. When Daniel came home, she was standing by the door. Her eyes were red. "Was I ever more than the deal?" she asked. For the first time since she'd known him, Daniel looked shaken. "You were supposed to be just the deal," he admitted. "I didn't plan to care." Silence filled the room. "But I do," he said. His voice wasn't polished. It wasn't calculated. It was vulnerable. "I've never needed anyone before. And that terrifies me." Emma felt tears slide down her face. As the truth was, he felt it too. Somewhere between the thunderstorm and shared dinners, the contract had faded. And something genuine had taken its place. Not dramatic. Not explosive. But steady. Safe. The 1-year anniversary arrived. Lawyers prepared documents. The inheritance secured. Daniel walked into the office where Emma was waiting. Divorce papers sat neatly on the table. He slid them toward her. Her hands trembled slightly. Then he placed something else beside them. A handwritten letter. "I don't want this to end," he said quietly. "I don't want a contract marriage. I want you. No conditions. No deadline. Just a choice." Emma looked at the papers. Then at him. And in that moment, she realized something. She hadn't signed the contract for love. But love had found her anyway. He picked up the divorce papers and tore them in half. For the first time since the day they met, Daniel stepped forward without hesitation. And he kissed her. Not out of obligation. Not for appearance. But because he wanted to. Because she wanted to. What began as survival became partnership. What began as strategy became devotion. And the woman who once believed love was a luxury discovered that sometimes it arrives when you least expect it. She married a stranger. But what happened next changed her life forever. If you believe love can appear in the most unexpected ways, subscribe for more unforgettable stories. And tell me in the comments, would you ever marry a stranger for money?